Hi, guys. How's it going? You guys doing okay? Can you hear us okay? Okay. Are you all from Edmonton? No? Are you from Red Deer? Are you from Lethbridge? Are you from Calgary? Okay. Okay, we'll just wait till we have everything. Okay, before we start. I don't have the sampler. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we have it all muted until everybody's all ready.
Oh,
Are we ready to go?
Okay.
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. We're ready to go, everybody.
Just tuning. Oh, there we go. Okay.
They're playing tonight at the Shaw Conference Center. If you have questions, you can text them to 10029. You can tweet them at Sonic1029, hashtag Sonic Session. Tegan and Sara, everyone.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Build a wall of books between us in our bed. Repeat the words that I know we both said. Relax into the need, we get so comfortable. Remember when I was so stretching like a bow? I just want back in your head. I just want back in your head. I'm not unfaithful, but I stray. When I get a little scared, when I get a little scared, when I get a little, when I jerk away from holding hands with you. I know these habits hurt important parts of you. Remember when I was sweet and unexplainable? Nothing like this person unlovable. I just want back in your head. I just want back in your head. I'm not unfaithful, but I stray. When I get a little scared, when I get a little scared, when I get a little scared, when I get a little run, 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 run. I just want back in your head. I just want back in your head. I'm not unfaithful, but I stray. I'm not unfaithful, but I stray. I'm not unfaithful, but I stray. I'm not unfaithful, but I stray.
Tegan and Sara, everybody. Tegan and Sara. Yeah, I can tell. Whatever. No big deal. One thing you guys are probably getting asked a whole bunch of is, the new album. It's a little bit poppier. My question is, was that a conscious decision? Did you guys sit down and have that conversation?
Before every record, we always have a conversation about, where we want to go and what we haven't done before and how to keep ourselves entertained. But a big part of it is how to keep our audience happy. And although Sainthood was really exciting and it was a really amazing record for us and it took us so many new places and we gained so many new fans, it didn't necessarily have a single on it. It didn't sell nearly as much as The Con. And so we didn't think to ourselves, everything's perfect, let's just keep doing what we've been doing. We actually did sit down and rethink out what the whole premise of Tegan and Sara is, what the whole point of what we do is, and it seems that at its core, the thing that keeps Tegan and Sara fans coming back, and especially buying concert tickets, is the stories and the emotion behind the music. And so our number one sort of, I guess, goal for Heartthrob was to make the most vulnerable, emotionally intense record that we've ever made, and I think we accomplished that. But we also thought, well, we've done indie rock and we've done more rock stuff, and one of the things that we'd been exploring the last 6 years was sort of our dance pop influences. So we decided that we would try making a record that reflected a lot more of the music we grew up listening to, like Cyndi Lauper and early Madonna and New Order. And so we headed out into the world to try to find a producer who would help us do that with class, but we still wanted to explore that. So
Well,
I think we did it.
I sort of feel like Heartthrob is a victory on a couple of fronts. You know, one, like you say, it's a really vulnerable record, but also this is what, album number 7 for you guys?
700, yeah.
Yeah, you guys have all these sort of alt records out. You have radio support from alt stations, and then you release an album that's a totally sort of different genre. Do you feel like you're starting all over again with Heartthrob?
Thankfully, it doesn't necessarily feel like we're starting over, but it does feel like, different doors are opening for us. And certainly the exposure for the record has been so much higher, just in terms of like you said, the radio stations that are playing us. All of a sudden, we're not sort of relegated to just one type of radio station. We're seeing the song played on alternative radio stations, even like college radio stations, pop stations, places that we haven't necessarily been exposed before. And in our mind, like any opportunity to sort of introduce the band to a new audience is good. We're not necessarily the honest to God truth, and I don't know if I should say this, but like I don't listen to a lot of radio. We're traveling all the time, so I'm not like in one place saying like, oh, I'm loyal to this brand or I'm loyal to this station or this DJ or whatever. So for us, to be able to say like, hey, we're not snobs. If the music is getting
Sarah's
played, if we're no, like to me, it's like it's less important, where this music fits, and more important to me that the music is just getting heard.
Well, to a lot of Tegan and Sara fans, Poppy record seems like a necessary step in the evolution.
Mm-hmm.
The collaboration with David Guetta, for instance, was that sort of a way of, dipping your toe in Lake Pop and seeing how it felt?
Well, growing up in Alberta, I mean, the punk music scene and the rock music scene was big, but there was also a huge electronic music scene, especially in the 90s. We would literally go and see, like, a Smashing Pumpkins concert, but then go to a rave the next weekend. So I think we've always had a lot of our interests have sort of been in electronic and pop music. So, but I do think that the last 6 years, a lot of the collaborations we were doing did lead us down this path, and it made us feel like, we were gaining a lot of fans from the collaborative work we were doing, starting with Tiesto, but then with Morgan Page and David Guetta. But we also were seeing a lot more collaboration between Sara and I, and it just felt like maybe we were more comfortable collaborating with each other when we were working in that genre. I think when you're strumming your acoustic guitar and writing more of a folk or an alternative song, you feel much more intimate with the music and you don't want to share that space. But Sara and I started to get really comfortable collaborating. So, and it's kind of funny, we've been joking that a lot of, I think, media and radio were wondering if our fans would stay loyal to us, but our fans come from that world. That's how we've made fans, is through them hearing us through other bands. And, I think that we just decided that they would probably be fine with whatever we put out as long as there was integrity behind what we were doing. So.
You're not boring me. I'm just checking the questions that are coming
Oh, yeah?
through
No,
on the
it's fine.
web feed
Just
here.
checking his
I thought maybe you were watering a crop on
Facebook.
Yeah.
No, you mentioned
Yeah.
Morgan Page, though, and with Morgan in town tonight, is there any chance you popping by his show, him popping by your show?
Well, because we have our own show tonight, unfortunately, we won't be doing any moonlighting. But we love Morgan, and we've actually had an opportunity to perform with him live, and he's really an excellent guy. And as Tegan said, we've gained a lot of traction and support from the electronic music world, and so it's fun for us to go and sort of participate in what they do, and then have them come back and sort of participate in what we do.
Well, we totally appreciate you being here. Thank you for enduring the world's longest sound check.
That was definitely not the world's longest sound check.
No.
So the next song you guys are going to play for us is the first single from Heartthrob. It's called Closer.
Okay. You guys let me know when you're ready. You're good? No, it's totally fine. Here we go. Everyone's good? Ted's tuning up. It's important to tune.
It's
Gotta
a single.
sound good.
It's a single. If it wasn't the single, we would play it out
Just
of
play
tune.
it out of tune.
Yeah,
No big deal.
No big. No.
All right. Ted's been with us for a lot of years now, and he knows he gets lashings after the show if he's not in tune when we perform. Right, Ted? Ted hates when we've been really paying a lot of attention
Love
to Ted
lashings.
lately.
All
All right, you guys. Ready? John, you ready? You still there? You're upset because I'm not giving you a lot of attention because my back's to you? Okay. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All I wanna get is a little bit closer. All I wanna know is, can you come a little closer? Here comes a breath before we get a little bit closer. Here comes a rush before we touch. Come a little closer. The doors are open, the wind is really blowing. Night sky is changing overhead. It's not just our physical. I'm the type who won't get oh so critical. So let's make things physical. I won't treat you like you're all so typical. I won't treat you like you're all so typical. All you think of lately is getting underneath me. All I dream of lately is how to get you underneath me. Here comes the heat before we meet a little bit closer. Here comes the spark before the dark. Come a little closer. The lights are off and the sun is finally setting. Night sky is changing overhead. It's not just our physical. I'm the type who won't get oh so critical. So let's make things physical. I won't treat you like you're all so typical. I want you close. I want you. I won't treat you like you're typical. I want you close. I want you. I won't treat you like you're typical. Ooh, 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 ooh. Here come the dreams of you and me. Here come the dreams. Here come the dreams of you and me. Here come the dreams. It's not just our physical. I'm the type who won't get oh so critical. So let's make things physical. I won't treat you like you're all so typical. Oh, I want you close. I want you. I won't treat you like you're typical. I want you close. I want you. I won't treat you like you're typical. I won't treat you like you're typical. I won't treat you like you're typical. All I wanna get is a little bit closer. All I wanna know is, can you come a little closer?
Thanks.
Tegan and Sara, everybody. Closer. Speaking of proximity and distance, well, bam, segue. One of you lives in Montreal. The other one lives like opposite end of Canada, Vancouver. Is there such a thing as too close?
I think for us, thankfully we're a band making music in the time of the internet, So for us, like when we first separated and Tegan was living in Vancouver and I was in Montreal, almost immediately we were both recording at home in our own studios and sending tracks back and forth to each other and sessions to each other. So our collaboration has always been fairly modern and somewhat dependent on technology and the internet. And but I think because of that, it's never been a problem. Like we weren't a band where we were like jamming out in the rock space down the street from our houses or whatever. We never were that band, so we never had to sort of adjust. And it's worked really totally fine for us. I think it's allowed us to sort of explore, the different kinds of songwriting that we do and the different kinds of influences that we've had. And there've been times where I think Tegan has been more influenced by what was going on the West Coast and has brought me a song, and then I've brought sort of like what's happening for me in Montreal or New York, and the sort of like the process of making those songs work together, or those styles of work together, I think has become the signature of what our band does. It's not just what Tegan does or what I do. It's sort of compromise. There's an implication of it being somehow negative, but I think it is the compromise of what we both do that makes Tegan and Sara sound like Tegan and Sara.
How important is it to the writing process to sort of have a different experience? If you guys just walked around and went to the same places all the time and did the same things, you'd kind of write the same sort of songs. Does that sort of is that valid?
I think what you're saying is important. I think it's something that a lot of bands maybe don't take into consideration. And Sara and I, from record to record, do change things up. I mean, I'm not so certain that it's because we live in different cities that we have different voices. I just think that we both really encourage each other to step outside the box between records, whether it's listening to different kinds of music or working with a different producer, or in the case of Heartthrob, Sara really encouraged me to stop being self-deprecating and self-loathing and writing these like kind of sad, depressing songs, because I'm not sad or depressed anymore. I'm happy. And so, I tended to write more romantic, nostalgic songs because of that. And for Sara, I was basically like, write Back in Your Head Again, because it was really good and it's poppy and but what I was basically saying was write something that people can really relate to. Sara has a wicked way with words, where she says things in a way that feels like she's ripping your heart right out of your chest. And so, we use each other that way. So I don't know if it's because we're living in different cities so much now that really gives us a different perspective on life, so much as that we just are really living independent lives from one another. So, and I think if we were living in the same city, that would still be true. I think we're strong enough as independent people now that we could handle to share a city and probably still not turn into each other.
True.
What do you think?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, our band shows up dressed the same a lot lately, and I'm starting to think that it is just proximity that starts to turn you into each other.
Oh, it's true. My wife and I will wear the same thing when we go out. We're like, no,
that's
it's
why people
plaid
look
night.
like they're dogs, like I'm like, it's just you're with them all the time, you just start to really dig their style.
Now, you guys have started doing, you guys have been doing some co-writing, with Lisa Loeb and Carly Rae Jepsen even.
Yeah.
How is the dynamic different, writing with different partners?
I think that so far, the thing that's really interesting about co-writing songs or working on material with other people is that often there's not that intimacy of like, getting into the same room, or even sometimes, like when I'm writing for somebody, I'm not even sure who it's going to be for, like it's a sort of an exercise for me in just trying to sort of be universal, broad, and, try to think about like other people, other characters, other situations that people might be in. So it's really fun. And, like the collaborations that you've mentioned, as well as what we were talking about earlier with like Tiesto and Morgan Page and David Guetta, a lot of times we're just dealing with tracks, like people are sending us musical ideas, and there's sort of our like, like melodic cues involved, and we're just sort of really doing what in the industry they call top line writing,
which means pacing around in sweatpants, being like, how do I feel today?
Yeah,
where can I go?
And
now?
A lot of just sort of like nonsensical stream of consciousness, sort of like moaning and bellowing and trying to sort of string a couple of words or key phrases together. So it's very different than what we do. Whereas like when I sit down to write for my own stuff, often I'm creating the instrumentals first, and I'm thinking about my own situations and perspectives. So it's been a wonderful exercise for us to sort of step outside of our natural songwriting process and sort of try to do something different.
Interesting. When I picture you guys writing songs, I picture like a calligraphy pen and sitting there in like a huge studio with like big vaulted ceilings.
Okay, let me paint a picture for you with my calligraphy pen. I generally do a lot of writing in my closet. It's the only sort of insulated space I have in my apartment, and it's just quite naturally it's the clothing and the folded up clothes. I put a carpet in there and some like padding, and I drag this chair in there and I squeeze in and I close the door. It's like tiny. I like close the tiny little door, and then I just sit with my computer on my knees, or sometimes I'll move some clothes and I'll put it on a shelf, and then I just sing like this with the microphone, like, and then I like do my like right hand moves on the computer in my Logic program. It's the most lo-fi recording you can possibly imagine.
And then
but
you scare the crap out of the cleaning lady.
No,
when she
no, no,
comes
no.
through.
It's like no. My this is partly why I love Montreal and why I love my apartment, is that it's like it's fairly isolated and I can be quite loud. But that space and that process has been most effective for me, and I've written everything for the con, Sainthood, and this last record in that little tiny closet in that space. So I can write the instrumentals anywhere, but the actual writing of the songs and lyrics and melodies, it is the most not large studio with a calligraphy pen kind of experience you can possibly imagine. There's nothing glorious about
It's
it.
more like my picture.
Yeah, Tegan's room is like that, but my room is just, dangling clothes from 2005 and sort of a smell of mildew.
Well, there are, I'm going to say 57 fantastic internet questions pouring through in text that we'll get to in just a minute here.
All 57.
All 57.
Really?
We'll rapid fire them. First, how about another song?
Sure, we're going to play another song off the new record, and this one's called I Was a Fool. You guys all ready? Team Tegan and Sara? Got it. Ready? All right.
Do you remember I searched you out? How I climbed your city's walls? Do you remember me as devout? How I prayed for your cause? I stood still, it's what I did. Love, like houses never fixed. I stuck around. I did this you every time. I was a fool for love. I was a fool for love. I was a fool. I was a fool. Then you blamed me and blocked me out. How long did you think I'd last? Then you disappeared for weeks to pack. How many times did I pass? But stand still is what I did. Love, like houses never fixed. I stuck around. I did this, said you every time. Oh, I was a fool for love. I was a fool for love. I was a fool. I was a fool. If you're worried that I might have changed, left behind all of my foolish ways, you best be looking for somebody else without a foolish heart, a foolish heart. But stand still is what we did. Love, like houses never fixed. I stuck around. I did this, saved you every time. I was a fool for love. I was a fool for love. I was a fool. I was a fool for love. I was a fool. I was a fool for love. I was a fool. I was a fool for love. I was a fool. I was a fool for love.
I was a fool, Tegan and Sara. When you go out and start performing songs from this new record, obviously there's the radio singles and that kind of thing. What songs are you most fired up to perform live? You're excited to get out there and go, oh, this one's just gonna kill it. I can feel it.
Well, right now, I mean, it's always really exciting to play the new stuff, even if you don't feel like you're going to kill it. Like, it's like sometimes actually the nervousness feeling and that anxiety of doing something that isn't completely muscle memory yet is is totally thrilling. Because, a lot of songs like Back in Your Head and, The Con, like a lot of stuff that we've played, I mean, quite literally like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, there's like a totally different part of your brain that's triggered when you're doing that stuff. You can really engage and be really intense. And then there's other times where I'm like thinking about like my laundry or like if somebody stole my Kobo from that hotel I left it in. And like, I think there's a little bit of like a separation that happens. Whereas with the new stuff, you have to be so present and you have to be really like, you're sort of like triggering in a very like manual kind of mode. And I think that's really exciting. But then, that's also really, there's a lot of anxiety associated with that too, because it's like you're still very much able to sort of like go off the rails really easily, or like sometimes I'll get super nervous or I'll have like a sort of like rush of adrenaline when we're playing something new, and because I'm not able to sort of like manually go to the place I need to go to, I'll start forgetting lyrics, or I'll think like, oh my god, I think I sang that completely wrong or out of tune, or I'll start trying to sing Tegan's part, or like, so it's really funny. I think it's like it's a really
not funny when she sings.
Well, it's not funny when that
I got
happens.
Nothing to do then.
That's a terrible place. It's a terrible place to go to. But I really enjoy this period of time because it's very soon it is reflex and it is muscle memory, and then that part of your brain that wants to be challenged needs something new. So.
Do you guys get nerves still? Like, I mean, when you're
Yeah.
standing backstage, you're like, well, I'm going out there and playing new songs. I'm
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
I should hope so.
I mean, God, if we stopped feeling nervous, I mean, I think it's sort of like, I always think about performing and being in a band like sort of like what it feels like to be in love. Like there's a comfort when you start to just know somebody and you've been together forever and you start looking like each other and dressing like each other. But I think the part of love that is so attractive and addictive is, that firing of chemicals and not knowing what the result is going to be and what the feedback is going to be. And, there are definitely nights where, it's akin to the, 5 years in a relationship watching Teen Mom on the couch with your partner that you don't feel like you have to shave your legs for anymore. And then there are nights where it feels like a first date, Yeah, but both are good. No, but both are good. Like, it is comfortable sometimes on stage and I don't feel nervous. And then there are other nights where it's like it's the first time and it can be really thrilling.
Wow.
Yeah. You don't feel that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
What, Tegan's like...
Ditto.
No, you don't have to share. This was just my experience.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah, I feel like
No, I agree. I think it's very important to feel nervous on stage. I agree with everything you said.
I mean, do the guys sitting in our band don't have microphones, but just by a head nod, do you feel sometimes like that? Like some nights you're like, you just feel super comfortable, and other nights you feel like you're going to poop yourself. You're so nervous. Do you?
They're not going to admit to wanting
Okay, maybe not pooping yourself
themselves.
literally, but figuratively.
Yeah,
They're both
nobody's
not
working on
acknowledging me
stage.
here. It's crazy. Nobody feels the way I do. What, John? Tell me. I'll repeat for you. I'll do a translation for you. Oh, there's a microphone.
Oh, jeez.
John Spence on keyboard, everyone.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable, but I think the nerves let you know that you're actually listening to the people around you, because
That's
if
true.
you think about performing music with other people, there's a lot of trust, and so having the trust, that you're comfortable. But when you're not sure what someone's going to do, that's the exciting part.
That is
That's the
exciting.
nervous part.
Yeah.
So.
See, this is why I think it's akin to like intimacy when you first start dating somebody, because some days you're like, you are the bee's knees, I trust everything about you, and then it's so fun because then the next date you go out and you're like, you might be a serial killer and I may have completely read this entire situation wrong, which is like a show. Sometimes you come out on stage and you're like, these people are like butter. This is like, it's all in the palm of my hand, and then there's other nights where I'm like, they hate us. This is terrible. They thought they were seeing Metallica. Like...
I married my serial killer.
You did, yeah.
I've got a question here from Raspberry, which I'm guessing is a Twitter name. What's your favorite yoga pose? What are you digging right now?
I've never done yoga, never once in my whole life.
I got really... Ted and I, actually, we used to do yoga together a couple years ago. We kind of fell out of it recently just because we've been so busy. But, I think that what's really neat about yoga, especially as a musician and someone who has a very I guess, terrifyingly busy life, is that it does really get you out of your mind and back into your body.
What's your favorite pose, though?
Well, I was just going to say that, like, there really was never a favorite pose for me. It was just getting into that room and forcing myself to do some sort of exercise. It was like a, natural blood transfusion. I felt really good. So I'd say that my least favorite pose, though, was when they would make you get into, like, the crazy headstands or something at the end, because I was pretty terrified of breaking something. And, like, who wants to be that guy who has to be, like, taken out of their yoga class on a stretcher,
That's dark.
But I do enjoy me some yoga.
Another question here. Favorite soundtrack to a movie? If you could write a soundtrack to an existing movie or an existing book, which one would you choose?
Oh God, that's a tough one. I think just off the top of my head, influence wise, when we were young, like the True Romance soundtrack, I loved, and I remember really loving.
Or Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet was really good with Claire Danes. And
We're
Leonardo
dating ourselves
DiCaprio.
right now, and all the people
Yeah.
nodding along in the room. I'm like,
Reality Bites
also
soundtrack.
old.
There were so many back then. Like soundtracks really, really were significant to us because that was like so. Like as a teenager, we loved films, but then
We'd also
we
get to
discovered
hear new
bands.
artists, yeah.
We discovered a lot of new bands through soundtracks. It's so different now. Post-internet, it's just different. There was like a thrill in going to a theater and hearing a song for the first time and not knowing who the band was, and then there's no way to really find out unless you stay for the whole, all the credits or whatever, and you'd sit in the theater waiting to see what artist or what band had played that song you really liked. So it was a really exciting time.
Okay, another question here from the internet.
The Wild Wild
Text.
West.
I don't know. People just text them to me. It is. What interview question are you tired of answering?
We get that question a lot, so sometimes I'm like, that question. Because people, they have like a really awesome interview with someone, and then their final question will be like, what interview, question do you really hate? And you're like, well, I'm not going to be honest with you.
That means I said it already.
No.
No, you
I
haven't.
will say that
You haven't.
that has a lot of times doing press. I mean, there are days where, like, we just recently did, like a 12-hour press day. I mean, we spend a lot of time talking about ourselves. And we spend a lot of time talking about ourselves in front of each other, which is really boring sometimes because I think Sara is a wonderful, articulate, well-read, interesting person, and I've experienced a lot of what she's talking about with her, but having to hear her tell the story 900 times can be a little bit, just you kind of zone out. And
Fatiguing.
Fatiguing is a good way to
Well,
say
and
it.
condensed
Exactly.
into 90
Yeah,
seconds.
Yeah, it's just, it can be a
Yeah.
lot. So I would say that it's not so much that there's a bad question, it's that sometimes the people asking the question, you just want to like pause their tape recorder and be like, is this really your line of work, do you think? Like, is this, because they just seem so bored and disinterested with the questions themselves, or just a lack of knowledge. Like Sara did an interview recently with someone who asked her all questions about So Jealous, and finally Sara was just like, I mean, I'm sorry, did you miss the last 8 years? Like, we put out multiple records. Like, our new record is not called So Jealous. And so it's not so
I
much
thought
that
she'd been in a serious accident.
she'd
and
just
that
woken
had
up and
out of a
didn't
coma.
realize So Jealous had already been out for 8
Or
years.
like her internet had froze. Like she was still, the wheel was spinning in 2004 and she's just like still waiting for it to unfreeze.
Yeah. So it's less about the questions and more about the intention behind the question. If someone seems really interested and asks me a million twin questions, I'll answer a million twin questions. If someone seems so pumped up about the production of our new record, I'll get into the nuts and bolts with them. But if they don't seem excited by their question, I feel sad. But really early on in our career, one of our first tours ever was opening for Neil Young. And the other band on the tour was The Pretenders. And this was the best education Sara and I could have ever gotten because we were around two incredible, historic bands, and their crew and their management. And we were 19 years old. And so we were getting a serious education about how to behave, how to be professional, how to put on a show. But one night, Chrissy Hind was having dinner, in the catering area nearby us. And Sara and I were complaining about a terrible interview that we had done that morning. And she told a really incredible story about how you have to keep in mind that it's only your answers that are printed. So it doesn't matter how bad the question is, that if you give a bad answer, it's only you that looks bad. So you need to really always give a great answer no matter what the question is. So I think Sara and I have become professionals at taking a really bad question and
my
turning
God.
it into a really great
Sometimes I don't
answer.
even turn the question into anything. Somebody will ask me a question and I'll just be like, anyways, and I'll just tell a completely different story or answer to the question.
Yeah,
That makes
you
me
make
seem
it seem like
insane.
you're interested in their question, but
Yeah.
you're not really. So there's really no question. As long as someone's into us, like, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, you guys played in Calgary, what was it, Friday?
Friday and
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday.
Now, you guys grew up there. You went to high school there. Is that weird for you to, you grew up and kind of did your thing, but now you come back and it's like, you're sort of big-time rock stars. You're kind of a big deal now, and you're playing in front of people you went to high school with.
Yeah.
Like the girl who saw you pee in grade 2, like
Yeah.
Did not happen.
Mrs. Morgan's
No one
class,
saw me pee.
for instance.
I was a very shy peer, even from a young early age. So, it is a bit strange, but it's not. I sort of had that feeling even years ago. I think actually the biggest sort of significant jump for us was around So Jealous or the Con. We started to play at the Jubilee, which was where we had, the beautiful theater where we'd seen, plays or like classical music performed live or whatever. Like, they seemed like a legit joint. It was the first time we weren't playing like a club or something, or like our grandparents weren't expected to like stand near the bar where the like 2-for-1 beer was going on sale or whatever. It was like the first time that I really felt like we were saying, both to ourselves, but also to the the people you mentioned, the kids who saw us pee in elementary school, and also our friends and family. We were sort of saying like, hey, this is not just like going to be, a part-time thing, or this is really going to be like, this is our job, it's our career, And I think when we go back to Calgary, it feels nice to be sort of embraced as a Calgary band and not like an embarrassment for people. Like sometimes you don't want to be the band that people are like, they're from here. Can you believe it? Like, so I think generally, anyways, it seems like people are fairly happy to call us a hometown band, and that feels really nice. And it's good that we don't seem to be falling off. Like, we're not going back to those bars where the 2-for-1 beer is being sold. So that's good. And I just, it's just like, we're just really grateful and happy.
Well, I saw Tegan and Sara on Jimmy Fallon the other night, and one of the things that
Jimmy
seems...
Kimmel, maybe?
We did
Was
not
it Kimmel?
play Fallon,
Yeah.
I watch them both. I
That's
just
okay.
PVR,
One
watch
Jimmy,
the
the
monologue,
other
watch
Jimmy.
the
Yeah, Jimmy.
performance.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Both the Jimmys probably
I should
do
have just
see
said late
themselves
night,
as
but I'm like, no, I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going Fallon. It's 50-50. Do it, Lane. Do it.
Yeah. Jimmy Fallon is really cute, but I think
Yeah.
we were on Jimmy.
Adorbs, yeah.
I mean, whatever.
One of the
Kimmel
things I
guys.
noticed, I've
Jimmy
seen you
Kimmel
guys
guys.
perform a
Kimmel.
number of times. Neither of you had a guitar. You're just standing there with a
Yeah.
microphone.
True.
Mhm.
So you don't think that my instrument was my dancing?
Sarah does play a little. Don't you play a sampler or something?
Yeah, I play a little bit of a sample.
We
but
are
I like-
adjusting on this new record too. There are a few songs where we are just focused on, like, there's a couple tracks on the record, like How Come You Don't Want Me. I play a bit of keyboard, but we just both sing, and Now I'm All Messed Up, we both just sing. I mean, that was one of our big changes for this record, was that we wanted to push our vocals and push our the sort of like back and forth between Sarah and I, and harmonies and melodies to like next level. So there are some songs where we're just so busy singing that it feels almost like a disservice to the song and the vocal part to play an instrument. We also have a really awesome band. We expanded this year and hired a sixth member, so which is John here, and he's doing a lot of the parts that we used to have to carry, and I think one of the things that we really learned, we've done a lot of sort of educating ourselves over the last couple of years, because we were wanting to push ourselves vocally, and we've been doing so much collaborating with people, that when I'm playing guitar, I'm using a whole different skill set than when I'm singing. And so when I'm doing them both together, if I didn't write it like that, sometimes I find it almost takes away from one or the other. So with the single Closer specifically that you saw on Kimmel Fallon, it's been important to me. The first time we performed Closer on TV, we did it on Conan in October, and I played electric guitar, and I felt so panicked the whole time. I didn't enjoy the performance in any way. I almost like blacked out. Right before we went on stage, I'd written down the first lyric on my hand, and I turned to Sarah, and like it was all smudged, and I was like, what is the first lyric of the song? And she turned around and she was like, are you serious? And I was like, I'm panicking, because I was also thinking about the guitar, and I was not able to just allow myself to sing that song, which is a very difficult song to sing, and I sing every single second. There's not one moment of peace. So yeah, it's very strange.
I do think, though, that it's also about intimacy between us and the audience. I always thought that, when we were performing and playing the instruments, I mean, partly it was just out of like needing to do it to fill up the sound, but also it was sort of like we were saying, these are our songs. We wrote these songs. These are our parts. These guys are doing what we did in the studio live, and it was sort of like we were saying, like, it was our way. It was sort of like having a weapon. It was like we were accomplished. We were not just like these. I don't know. Like, I guess there was like a stigma for us, because so often the press was trying to. I guess they were sort of trying to like say that we were manufactured, or that we weren't legit, and it's deeply rooted, I think, in a sexism around women and when they perform. And we wanted to prove, like, hey, we're not just singers. That's what girls do. We perform everything. And now I'm like, I don't care.
Now Sarah's like, I'm a girl and I'm just a singer.
No, now I'm like,
You're
a
taking it
woman.
back.
No, I'm a woman, and I've been in the industry for 13 years, and there are times where I just want to sing.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to think about
And she
proving
does.
anything.
She wails on a few
Yeah,
songs.
I do.
It's
and
crazy.
Also, like, when I watch video or I watch footage of us with an instrument, that's a barrier between you and the audience. It is. It's a wall. It's a protective thing. And I think for me, anyways, on a couple of the songs on this album, I wanted to remove the barrier fully. I wanted to be able to say,
You should
like,
grab the mic and you should get down into
I mean,
the front of
that,
the
I'm not
audience.
ready to remove that barrier.
Hold a hand and sing, like, How Come You Don't Want Me? Like,
that barrier
holding
is,
someone's hand.
That barrier is also that's a safety place for
Right.
me, like so.
So she wants to be intimate with you, but not that intimate.
Yeah, totally.
Well, two things. One, I'm sort of a hack guitar player, singer guy, and I would find it so strange to all of a sudden take away the guitar. Like, I wouldn't know what to do with my hands. Did you guys go through that? Like,
Yes.
do I snap? Do
Oh,
I
yeah.
cross my arms?
Well, the second
Like,
performance that we did of Closer was on Letterman, and I spent that entire performance fully in my brain, but just being like, now raise your right hand. Now put your left hand up there. That's right. Now move your head. Move your shoulder.
That
Don't
was
forget
Switch.
to move
I've
around.
actually
But,
felt-
yeah.
I
So
have
now,
felt
I mean,
less
now I feel like a
nervous.
total professional. We did Ellen a couple weeks ago, and I mean, I did have strep throat and was totally stoned on like, cold and flu medication stuff, but I didn't even think once about what I was doing.
No.
So we're definitely
I
getting
think about
very
karaoke
comfortable
a lot. I
without
think
it.
about karaoke, and I think about like the reality that besides like the first 2 rows, no one can see us anyway. So it's like I think I like from the very beginning was like, you imagine yourself very much under a microscope, as if like sometimes I will like go like this or something, and I'll think like, stop touching your hair. Everyone's gonna wonder why you keep touching your hair, and then I'll be like, no one is wondering. 0 people have noticed you touch your hair, or like 0 people have noticed that your pant leg is slightly up and you didn't shave your legs for a week and there's little hairs sticking out. Like I'll start to go self-conscious into like microscopic territory, and then I'm like, no, people are like making out, talking, looking at their phones, drinking beers, like vying for a better spot in the audience. No one is noticing the small inch of space between my boot and my pants.
Let's put it this way: it was a small adjustment. We kind of a few performances
We've
in, we
gone
were just
through
like,
it.
"This is great. This is fine."
Yeah.
well, you had mentioned too, like taking away the guitar sort of brings you one step closer to the audience. Was that sort of I guess, an intentional step forward, being that this tour you're playing a lot bigger venues? A lot of times you play theater shows and they're kind of intimate all on their own. Now you're playing sort of
yeah,
arenas.
each level
it's
it is
the
about
album.
changing it.
It's
yeah.
the album, like it's like when I'm singing, a song like Now I'm All Messed Up from the record, it's like I don't want to have a barrier. I want to be able to like let everything, like the emotion and the full body experience. I don't want to hide it behind an instrument. And
you want your show to,
you don't
to
want that.
reflect not only just the size of the room, but we're now trying to fit 7 records worth of material into a set, and so it's almost like you have to think about, well, okay, I've played 3 songs on an acoustic guitar. Now it would be probably really good energetically for me to do something new. You want to be visually exciting to the audience. If we were just sitting there completely stationary playing guitar the whole time, it might be boring. So, these are all things that we think about. It's not just about intimacy. It's just about, are we visually stimulating? Is our show good? People, they pay, they pay a lot of money, and they put a lot of effort into coming to see you, and you want to make sure that they get the best experience they possibly can. So Sarah will be doing a lot of trapeze work tonight in Edmonton, and
Okay, one real quick question before we get to a final song. What's the weirdest thing a fan's ever given you?
Oh my God, so much weird stuff.
Yeah.
We get so much, but neat stuff. I keep some of the really crazy. There's like this guy who made like figurines of Sarah and I, and like he's done different eras, and I have all those at home. I don't have them out because I would kind of be weird, I think, probably if they were on display.
Action figures?
Yeah, but I don't know, like someone made us shoes like to scale, like actually made us like size 7 shoes, like replicas of our other shoes out of masking tape. Duct tape, sorry. And they like fit. Like I could put them on and wear them if I wanted to, but I would never do that. Not even around the house by myself. Once.
You really see like the craftiness of people. Like it's like
amazing.
I think in a way like you become sort of a muse for somebody, and then they sort of use their medium, whatever it is. Like a lot, we obviously get a lot of drawings, paintings, illustrations, which is it's so sweet. But yeah, as Tegan said, then there's some people who are just sort of like veering way far into craft
Next level.
land, and they're like
Next level.
masking tape artists, if you will. Yeah.
Someone made us like a Monopoly game where all the pieces on the board were band members, and all the different things on the board were like things from our childhood. I mean, it's borderline a little nuts, right? But it's good. It's good.
It's cute.
It's nice, and we really appreciate it. So we really
Well,
do.
anyway, before we get to that last song, I'm just going to give you the underwear I made.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
An underwear artist.
Yeah, sweet.
Thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks
Tegan
all of
and
you.
Sara, everyone, tonight at the Shaw.
Okay, hold on. Get myself sorted here. You can maybe tell them what song we're playing.
We're gonna play Alligator. There's a radio station coming through my monitor, and I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if we could just quickly launch into that song? That would be so funny.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
Sensitive, it's true.